Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Broken Brian. And let's take a look at what's going on in the Monster Universe, or Monsterverse, by Universal, as they put it. James Wan is set to bring back the Munsters. I'm not sure how I feel about this. James Wan is a very good director and writer. For the most part, he's been phenomenal in the horror genre, from the Saw series to The Conjuring to Insidious. Was it Insidious? Yeah, it was Insidious. And but he also did Aquaman and the sequel. So he's kind of had a rough patch in the writing area for a little bit. But James Wan is a good director. And, you know, it's kind of like, oh, we want a horror director for the Munsters. While on the surface that seems good is I remember watching the Munsters with my parents when I was younger. I mean, it's a black and white 60s TV show. I want to say we watched it on Nick at Night uh, or something. It was probably Nick at Night. And it's funny. It's humorous. It's a comedy. They're all different vampire, Frankenstein, wolf, werewolf, and Lily's an actual human, and she feels awkward because she thinks she's ugly because she's the only non-monster looking family member. It's a real hoot. I can't tell you a single storyline to save my life. I remember watching it, think it's funny. Grandpa was my favorite. He was always hilarious, and I just remember watching this as a kid, and I'm thinking, okay, this is probably safe to reboot. I know Rob Zombie did a reboot in 2020, 22, somewhere 2021, 2022, and I mean, there was no way I was going to go see that one. I saw one Rob Zombie movie, and I was done with that. That was too much for me. I'm not going to lie. It was not my cup of tea. I was never going to see another Rob Zombie movie. I know that some people's just love it in the horror genre, but he just does too much. I can't stand it. And I was afraid to see what he would do with the Munsters. So I just pretend that movie doesn't exist because I'm not going to watch it. I'm just not. And so what gives me pause is that James Wan is such a good horror director, but really for the Monsters, you need someone who's good with comedy because that's what it was. In its very nature is a family show just poking fun at being monsters and trying to fit into the human world. It's funny. It's been spoofed by so many different TV shows. I remember they spoofed it once on Treehouse of Horror with The Simpsons. I don't remember. I think Bart was the Wolf Boy, and Lisa was Lisa was Lily, and Grandpa was Grandpa, and you know you can guess the casting there. But here's what scares me the most: is this line right here. We are very intentional about the stories we're telling, and there's always going to be a market for authentic, compelling, and entertaining television. Now, this doesn't sound like anything on the surface, but the last time I can recall hearing the phrase "we're intentional about the stories we're telling" was right when they were introducing Jodie Whittaker's Doctor on Doctor Who. And I did watch all of Jodie Whittaker's run. I didn't have a problem with her. I absolutely had a problem with Chris Chibnall destroying the legend and mythos of Doctor Who and just doing some crazy things like making the Doctor female, white, and responsible for keeping the civil rights movement in America alive. That always kind of got me. I'm surprised I didn't get more backlash on that one. But here's with that phrasing, I'm afraid that even though this is probably a good time, enough time has passed. I mean, 60 years has passed since this probably really was first released on TV. it's okay in my book to kind of do a reboot, but this is going to be a reimagining with intentional stories. To me, this translates into for modern audiences. And that's the great thing about the Munsters and shows like that back in the 60s. There might be a few things that'd be like, oh, that's a little sexist, maybe. But for the most part, these were family shows to be enjoyed by every family across the board. They wanted everyone in every household to watch this show because it was going to be funny, humorous, and safe for all ages. And that's what the Munsters was. I don't think this reboot or reimagining is going to be that way based on this phrasing alone. I could be wrong, but the fact that James Wan is in charge of it, I love Saw. That's one of the weird horror franchises that I really like. I don't really watch much horror, but that one just, I don't know. I like it. I can't tell you why. I just like it. Um, but it's going to be called 1313, which is after the street name 1313 Mockingbird Lane, where the Munsters lived. And I really do think this is just kind of a warning signal that this is going to be, I don't know. I really don't. I'm not against the Munsters reboot at this point, or just redoing it, but I feel that when you hire an acclaimed horror director and writer, it's not going to be the Munsters like the original one. It's not going to be very family friendly. It's not going to be funny. It's not going to have that comedic take to it. I could be wrong. This could be James Wan spreading his wings out again, trying something new, like he did with Aquaman. That didn't really pan out well for him. Maybe him getting into comedy, maybe he will do well. I'm hoping he does, because even though I can't remember it, Munsters is a beloved franchise that people still enjoy and watch. And I grew up watching it, remembering fondly. This was one of those shows that I watched with, same as I Love Lucy, the Dick Van Dyke Show, and other stuff on Nick at Night with my parents. This is just one of those, oh yeah, my parents didn't have to worry about them doing anything or saying anything that would be inappropriate for me as a young child. So I don't know if this is what we're going to get. This is all I've seen on it. I've done a little more searching, but I haven't found anything more concrete than this single article from Gizmodo that has anything more than what that's stated here. So I'll just keep an eye on this one, just because the Munsters is a great franchise and it's a family franchise. I just hope it stays that way. But we will just have to wait and see, won't we? So let me know. Did you ever watch the Munsters? I can't be the only one that watched it as a kid. Of course, my kids have never seen it. I've never sat them down and watched it. I don't even know if I have. I don't have physical copies of it. I'm sure it's streaming somewhere. If it's on Universal, I guess it's on Peacock, right? Peacock or Paramount. I forget which one's Universal. But on one of those, I may show them, just see, hey, is this something y'all like? I don't know, because it's one of those shows that's kind of in the memory vault. Yeah, it's back there, but it's nothing that I went back and rewatched. And I probably should. Uh, I mean, it's a funny movie. It's probably a little campy and a little hard to get through nowadays. It's kind of like, just just move on. It's just, but I can remember Herman's laugh. That's one of the I can remember Herman's laugh in my ear. I can close my eyes and hear him laughing on the TV show. It's got that weird. I mean, it's just I can't do it. I'm not even try. I shouldn't have even tried, but I can hear it in my head. I remember that. I couldn't tell you any of the stories, but I remember that. So let me just see what happens when this starts to get more information and we start getting trailers and things like that. But be be on the lookout for the Munsters remake going under the working title of 1313. So until next time, my friends, as always, I love you all, and there's nothing you can do about it.